joined by Winter High School head football coach Dan Aaker. Let's visit first about last week. Big win over rival Parkston. Your assessment, coach.
I was happy the way we played. I thought we prepped really well. Coming up a bye week, as I probably mentioned pregame last year, or last week, that it almost too much time because that was the big one we had on our schedule, and knowing we were going to see a good team. And I was a little worried about some of the emotions being high, and I think they were, but not to the extreme where it really affected us. Defensively, I was extremely happy. Look at what they finished up with. Really shut down the run, and they kind of went to pass right away. Negative yards rushing when you figure the sacks and everything in there, and really no big plays. So field position was definitely on our side, and that was led by our defense. The only time we really gave them good field position was on our own mistake and fumble. And offensively is kind of the story of big plays, and we have big playability. I would have liked to seen a chance, or maybe us to have to sustain a nice long drive, getting 4 or 5 in a crack. That didn't happen, but at the same time, the big plays made up for that, and we got momentum and kept momentum. But played, I thought, really well, and that's the level we need to continue. The intensity, and the guys were excited and having fun. That's probably the most important thing. We even talked about that before we took the field, is let's not lose sight of what we're doing here. Let's have some fun out there. And and Parkston's a pretty good team. Thought we controlled the line of scrimmage, and that we knew that. Talked about that coming in. We did a nice job up front, and once we kind of figured out a few things, I think, and I think part of it, we punted on our first drive, which is a good thing. I think, I didn't want things to really come overly easy because it kind of had to, and I think we just had to focus and go here. And I think one thing that took a little bit from us offensively was, you can talk about the speed of what they have and their caliber of players as much as you want, but it's just a level above of what we've been seeing. And it takes a little bit for guys to get used to it. They have been seeing it. Now, it was probably a little bit early, but the big punt set up everything, and then the Jonas's field goal. And then after that, we really controlled the game. So, to do that, you have to play well. So I was very happy with the game.
You had a pretty excited European on your hands there after that field goal.
It was good for him to get one, and a big game as well. He'd been pretty solid on extra points, but we hadn't had enough field goal opportunity. And for him to kick his first field goal through, I think just gives him confidence in us as well. It was kind of a pride thing for me, because we had first and 10 from the 13. The next thing we're all back up to the 20. It's hard for me to say, no, let's kick it. It took 4 assistants to talk me into doing it, and it was the right decision, and I'm glad we did it. But that's good for him confidence-wise as we keep moving on
here. Coach, you look at the playoff point picture, and real good chance we see that Parkston Trojans team again in a couple weeks. I guess I'd be surprised if we didn't, based on the way the points are looking. Something you've talked to your team about what you could see again in a couple weeks from them?
Yeah, and we talked about that before the game. It looked like that was probably going to be the scenario, and I think there's only one chance. If Sioux Valley got Bridgewater, I think there's a chance they could flip, but that might not even happen if that happens. So, and it brings you back memories of last year, and I just remind these guys, we're going to probably see a team we just saw, and we got to be ready. So, we need to take care of business next 2 weeks here, but at the same time, if that scenario plays out, they're going to have some things that they're going to try against us and maybe do a little bit different, and we got to be ready for that and be ready to play. But that's a tough first rounder if that's what it works out.
Coach, you have the Redfield Dolan Pheasants coming up. I know a team that we see comes to our wrestling tournament every year. Played them in the state basketball tournament a couple of years ago, and I believe most of these kids have played them in baseball through various region events. What do you know about them in football?
Well, obviously a new team to the schedule. You can't go back and look at a lot of things in the past. They started out, they've been kind of up and down, I guess is the best way to put it. I thought they played a couple of really good games early in the year where they shut out Siston, and they played Groton really tight. And then really kind of struggled the last 2 weeks. The one thing that I know from their end is this is their last game. If there's any probably chance of them making playoffs, they need it. So, and being the last game for their seniors possibly, that brings a whole different tilt of what emotions and stuff come to that game. So I think they're going to be ready to play. Pretty good size, but not a lot of over speed. I think that's one of been their Achilles' heels. They just haven't been able to keep some of the faster teams, so we need to use that to advantage. They're not scared to throw. They'll take their shots downfield, and defensively, they run a ton of different sets. So the big focus for us this week is recognizing formations and being in the right position, and let's play football after that. But we've got to be aligned right, and sometimes we see teams like this that do so much. That can be challenging. So it's been a lot of mental stuff to make sure that we know what our strength calls and where we're supposed to be. And then after that, it still goes down to stopping the run and then get the pressure on the quarterback and making plays back there. I think we're probably going to see a four-man front, but they've shown some six-man too, which is really kind of the same concept for our blocking scheme. So it's not a big adjustment. But it comes down to a lot of things that we've been doing all year. Line scrimmage will be big. I think we have an advantage there, so we got to take advantage of it. And I think from our end, really, it comes down to the biggest thing I'm looking for is can we continue that level. We played it in a big game environment, 3-hour road trip, and keep it that level that we got to last week, because we can't take a step back, and we got to be ready to go. So I think that's going to be the big thing for us Friday night, is to see how our guys respond after coming off a big game like that.
Last question for you, Coach. I've asked you a couple times about the development of the younger kids. You feel like your starters have advanced at the level that you want them to at this point in the season?
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is just reps and the mental side. Physically, we knew we were a pretty gifted team, and still are, and still fairly healthy. But I think the continuity, especially up front, when you get an offensive line that can be on the same page and can make calls and everybody understands what they're doing, it's such a huge advantage, and we've really progressed that. I'm not really worried about different fronts we see anymore. I mean, we work that stuff in practice, and when we talk during the game and stuff, it's just subtle adjustments that they kind of already know. And really, all juniors, that's a nice thing to have. That's not an easy concept of just subtle changes we do blocking wise, and I'd say continuity all the way around. We rotate. We have subs come and run a full rotation on the line and the secondary and the backfield, and sometimes that can kind of mess you up a little bit too when you throw in different people in there. But I think they're just so used to it now, everybody just kind of feeds off each other, and so I've seen strides there as well. And then we've talked before that some of the other guys that were trying to sub in there really close that gap, and we feel very comfortable getting them in there too. So that's going to hopefully pay dividends down the road too when we need some breaks. And go back to the Parson game, I was a little worried about where we're going to be in the fourth quarter, condition wise, and we were in pretty good shape. And a part of that is I think with what we've been trying to do in practice, I think has been good, but also the subs and the rotations that we've been doing keeps our guys fresher. So
great. Appreciate your time, and best of luck against the Redfield Dolan Pheasants.
Thanks, Bob.